Nozomi, do you know of any shops where sailors might go?
Well, they sure don't come in here. I'd guess that they probably hang out in bars.
Yeah, probably. Hey, sorry to bother you at work.
It's no bother. But Ryo... Don't do anything crazy. Ryo? Ryo?
I won't. See ya.
Shenmue is a series that is a complete love letter to Chinese martial arts, a literal journey of self-discovery as you follow the story of Ryo, a student of the Japanese Hazuki-style jiu-jitsu discovering the values and culture of Chinese martial arts, as well as a mild dose of vengeance.
With the long-awaited upcoming third entry of the Shenmue series creeping ever closer, a wait that's taken as long as growing and nurturing a fully developed Jaden Smith, the time has come to start looking at how specific aspects of the game will and should work. Over the next few weeks, in a series of Shenmue 3 videos, we will be exploring what we want and what we know about the game's combat, exploration, and storytelling.
In a series so rooted within martial arts itself, we thought the best place to start would be by looking at the combat system, asking how it can evolve from the original games, what's been announced so far, and what we would like to see progress to fill in the gaps of what we don't know. And as ever, thanks to all of our usual subscribers and first time viewers for taking the time to hear what we think.
Although we've not had much confirmed at this stage, there are a few details we do know from Kickstarter updates and developer interviews. The first is the introduction of the Technique Scroll system, a completely new mechanic to Shenmue in which there are 3 different types of move scrolls: normal, advanced, and arcane abilities, because apparently Shenmue 3 is going to be set in the depths of Mordor. Come along, little hobbit, we must leave the Shire in search of places where sailors frequent. The advanced and arcane move types will have an added skill tree system, which upon gaining XP will allow you to perform the more advanced techniques.
The character perspective system, another of the game's new mechanics, will allow us for the first time in the series to play as different characters. Although, at the moment the system will only appear in a single event, we do know that you'll be able to switch between Ryo, Ren, and Shenhua, each with their own playstyles to suit the situation. Ryo with hand-to-hand combat, Ren, who let's be honest is an eye patch away from being a fully fledged pirate, YAR! Ren with the ability to use weapons, and Shenhua using a non-violent approach. Although, as said before, this will feature in a single event. This doesn't necessarily mean we won't see this feature broadened out further down the development pipeline.
AI battling is what looks like to be the biggest confirmed change to Shenmue's actual combat. A system that deviates from the virtual fighter roots that the series was originally based upon, which was more akin to a traditional fighting system of inputting a command, and if an enemy is within the hit range, it will connect. Whereas the AI battling system seems to take a more accessible approach, that upon entering a command, Ryo will execute a move based upon the opponent's positioning and distance, with the AI dictating the best course of action as opposed to the player. This is a system that's aiming for accessibility. For players who are not quite used to fighting games, or for those who want a fully immersion battle experience.
Why did you do a Cornish accent for Suzuki-san?
I don't know.
The wider control scheme itself is yet to be confirmed, but Yu Suzuki has stated that he would like to keep a similar configuration to the original games. However, he has also noted that after such a long time that he's also considering a more contemporary approach. Whether this is in reference to exploration, combat, or a combination of both is not clear, but it seems that Yu is considering various different approaches, so only time will tell what control scheme will be implemented.
QTEs, which like it or not were seen as a novel innovation in the original game, are making a return in Shenmue 3. However, it has been stated that these will be more dynamic and modernized than ever before, with hints that the game will use sound and color, as opposed to overlaying an intrusive flashing button in the middle of the screen.
On top of these details, we've also uncovered a few more little nuggets of information, such as the ability to attack multiple opponents at once. Perform complex combos in training areas which were not available in Shenmue 2 have also been hinted at making a return, and finally a variable speed system, which Yu Suzuki describes as something new and fun for the series that will make it visually different from the original games. We're not totally sure what it is, but it sounds like it will involve slow motion and an over-reliant use of whooshes and whoops.
So there you have it, that's everything we could find out so far about Shenmue 3's combat system. Thanks to the lovely folks from Shenmue 500K for pointing us in the right direction.
A few weeks prior to releasing this video, we reached out to different Shenmue communities across Facebook and Reddit to find out what fans actually want to see in Shenmue's combat system. Suffice to say that we got a range of different responses with just a few common threads.
One common piece of feedback we got was the return of the training area from the first Shenmue, which was a system that didn't exactly resonate with everyone at the time. But since it was removed for Shenmue II, it seems to be one underlying feature that most fans want to see return. The ability to train and improve to certain moves based on your playstyle creates a sense of individuality, that this version of Ryo is your version of Ryo and nobody else's. Which, in terms of agency, is something we'd all like to see return.
A more divisive issue was whether the combat should follow closely to the original games or whether it should be simplified and more accessible, with some folks saying that it should stick with its virtual fighter roots and others thinking it should be reinvented, whether that be a Yakuza style or an Arkham style combo counter system. The truth is we'll likely see the latter more than the former, with quite a few deviations already announced. It's hard to see Shenmue 3 turning out to have a similar combat system to the original games.
From our point of view though, we would like to see a refined version of the Virtual Fighter system rather than a complete reinvention of the combat. Why? Well, as a crowd-funded project and the third entry in a series, you have to be realistic about the number of new players that will be coming into Shenmue 3 blind. Now put down your pitchforks and delete that snotty comment you're definitely not writing. We're not saying that there will be no new players to the series, of course there will be, but the fact of the matter is that the narratively driven story and the amount of time it's been since the original releases, you're not as well positioned to get those new players in as you would be with a new IP, or the way the Yakuza series managed to do it with a prequel.
With that in mind, Shenmue 3 from our point of view should be more of a service to the fans of the series rather than a dogged attempt at revitalising the series. The recently released HD remasters would have certainly helped bring new players to the series, but your core player base is going to be people who are familiar with the series and have been for a very long time. With this knowledge, you would be best positioned to make a super refined version of what you know is going to be appreciated. A completely new combat system just means your margin for risk is much greater, moving away from the identifying component of the series, which at its origins was an adventure-based virtual fighter game, just has the scope to be, well, just awful.
Now, call is conservative if you want, and in general we love to see developers take risks, but Shenmue 3 might not need that approach with every single aspect. With such a passionate and long-waiting fan base, wouldn't it be better to service them and knowing you are delivering a system that everyone's already bought into, rather than building something that might well be terrible with the added benefit of adding maybe a few extra players to your core player base? The payoff doesn't seem to justify the risk.
A point raised by Pasta Panda Simon, silly panda, pasta's for kids, was that in the original games he struggled with both the camera angle, which we can all agree at times was an absolute nightmare, and more importantly the lack of a block command, meaning that the only form of defense was dodging. Adding more defensive options is something we absolutely agree with, and something we hope to see added to Shenmue 3 alongside utilizing the additional analog stick we didn't have on the Dreamcast controller to resolve the battle camera issues.
Finally, a key point to address with Shenmue 3's combat system that we touched on earlier, and something that was raised by a gonga on Reddit, was the possibility of supernatural/fantasy elements to the combat. A trailer released for the now cancelled Shenmue Online that surfaced back in 2006 showed us a glimpse of the planned direction of the series, showing Ryo building up energy, getting ready to unleash a ki blast like something out of Street Fighter or Dragon Ball. For us, we're not sure about this direction. With a series so steeped in immersion and realism, to make a tangent into fantasy seems counterintuitive. We got hints of more of a mythical ethos right at the end of Shenmue 2, but nothing on the scale of what we saw in the Shenmue Online trailer. Again, time will tell how much this will feed into the story, but we wait with bated breath with the rest of you to see how it all pans out.
With combat being a core part of the original Shenmue experience, we hope Ryo Hazuki has given some consideration and delivers something that will genuinely be accepted by the wider Shenmue fans. Although we appreciate there's no one-size-fits-all solution that everyone is going to love, we foresee just a few directions that we could head down that we think will actually be worse for the series in terms of the ambience and the identity, which, let's be honest, the ambience and the identity are the strongest parts and what makes a Shenmue game, well, a Shenmue game. What do you think anyway? What do you think should be put into the combat in Shenmue 3? Let us know underneath, and as usual, thank you to all of our usual subscribers and all the first time people who are viewing this for taking the time to hear our thoughts and stuff. Thanks for watching.